In my previous video, I shared with you a super amazing chatbot that you can use for any kind of industry with any kind of actions that you can imagine. And it's super powerful as it uses and leverages this OpenAI's Assistant API. So it's directly integrated and everything is available as a template from within the last video. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do that right now, because this video is going to be an extension of that. You guys have requested it many times to see more examples on how you can use that templating engine to create custom actions that are super powerful and that you can use in a more advanced way to even lift your chatbot further into the realms of custom code, and even without writing that custom code. And this video is specifically made for that. So I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to show you, first of all, how you can create a custom action that integrates with a webhook, which allows you to already create or already connect that action or that chatbot to mostly any kind of other services that you can imagine. And with that, I'm talking about low-code tools or no-code tools like Zapier or Make.com, Pabbly Connect, Power Automate, all of those. You can also connect it to other services that integrate with webhooks, or you can even connect it and hook it up to your very own API or database. So all of that is possible, and the setup itself will be very simple, so it's more of a beginner's tutorial, even though it involves code, but you don't need to write any custom code because everything will be generated by ChatGPT with the prompts I created for you. And you will find all of those inside of the resource hub in the link in the description. The second example I'm going to show you will be a more advanced example that leverages the Assistant API in combination with other external APIs to create a property search for the chatbot that we already created in my previous chatbot template. If you have seen it, the chatbot we created there is called Bright Horizons Realty, which is a real estate agency that I made up that is literally just for the purpose of this chatbot. And in there was an action that could basically query through a predefined list or a JSON list of properties. But in that case, we are going to elevate that, and we are actually using a real estate database from some other kind of providers to actually show you how you can fetch that information and how you can display it directly within VoiceFlow or inside of your chat. All right, that's enough of the talking. Let's dive right into it. So if you have checked out the previous video, you should already have set up your VoiceFlow template, and you should already have your Replit template forked directly from within the resource hub. So these are the two main things you need. And as you can see, I have no tools available right now because we haven't created any. And the config.py file, which contains the assistant instructions, is literally the same as before. So we have property search assistant, schedule property viewings, and lead capture. So lead capture I'm not going to create today because I already did that a couple of times in my previous videos. So now I'm focusing more on showing you a simple way of how we can hook up the schedule property viewings to a webhook URL. And then I show you the advanced version of how to create a property search assistant with a custom API included. All right, to get started, the first thing we are going to do is we are creating the action for the schedule property viewings, as it's the easiest one. And all you need to do is you need to head over to the resource hub and copy the ChatGPT tool ideation generator prompt, which is a very simple one. So you copy that one, you head into your ChatGPT, you paste it, and now we define whatever that action should do. So in my case, I just removed the placeholders and I want to define the action to schedule a viewing online, which I'm literally not completely building right now. So I'm more of showing you how you can connect it to a webhook so that you can schedule the viewing in your very own way or do whatever. So it's basically just an example. So we say this action should be able to schedule a property viewing. It has to collect the full name of the user, email, and we're also gonna say the property ID and the date and time, of course, and the preferred date and time. Now we also want to make sure that it's actually sent to a webhook URL, so we're gonna define that here. So we say the information should be sent to a webhook URL where I will continue taking care of the data. All right, that's it. So I press enter and the prompt is posted. ChatGPT now starts to scope out that specific action. And this prompt, what it basically does is it helps you to use a very simple snippet of a description that you of the action that you want to use, and it creates a complete scope for that, including the constraints and the feature functionality, so that you don't need to take care of that. And that is especially interesting if you deal with stuff like webhook URLs and you have no idea what they mean, or you want to connect it to Airtable or Campaign Monitor or any other kind of service, or let's say make.com. You can just say, I want to connect it with make.com, and it basically uses its knowledge to write the constraints for you in a way so that they are optimized for make.com, so that you basically don't need to do that. Just gives you higher quality prompt in the end. All right, now we have that prompt here. So we head back into our resource hub and you look for ChatGPT tool generator prompt, and you're going to copy the whole massive block. And I know it's a lot and you don't need to read it. You simply need to copy it, paste it right into here. And now we need to replace a couple of things. So when you're in the prompt, you just scroll up a little bit until you see this line. So you remove it, and then you copy the functionality from the previous prompt and replace it within the one in the new one. You do the exact same thing with the feature description that we have right here, and I do the same thing with the constraints. Now you will notice that the constraints are dots or a feature list. I'm literally just pasting them here as text because it really doesn't matter since they're separate lines anyway. And once you have done that, all you need to do is you need to press return. And now we just have to wait until ChatGPT creates for us a fully fledged module that we can include as a custom action into the chatbot template that I provided for you. And we can already get started since at the beginning it defines already the name of that specific tool, including the .py ending. All you need to do now is you need to copy that specific file name with a .py ending. You head over to your applet template, you go to tools, right click it, click add file, add that name here and press enter. So now you basically have that file available right here. And it's empty for now, so now we basically have to wait until ChatGPT is ready with its prompt, which it should now already. Yes, it's basically ready. So all we do is now we copy that code, we paste it right into our applet template, which looks something like this. And I just go quickly through to see if everything is okay. So environment variable, this is basically where we set up the webhook URL. So it requests us here to set it up as a secret, which is also, I think, mentioned down here. Yeah, remember to set the webhook URL in your environment variables. Okay, so you can basically create a variable for it here. I'm not gonna do that, I directly create it in here, but that is up to you, whatever you want. Then we have the function call, so this all looks good. This is example usage, should be removed, commented out in production. So let's assume we're in production, so we're just going to remove that. And I'm going to save that file. And now we basically still need to add our webhook URL. So since that webhook URL depends on the service, if you use make.com, you can use the webhook integration. If you use Zapier, you can use webhooks by Zapier. And there's another neat tool that I want to show you, which is called webhook.site, which is basically a webhook testing tool. And this is what we're going to use to test our action. So once you're on it, you will see that you will get a unique URL, which you can copy, and you can basically receive data on that. So what I'm going to do now is I will basically head back into our applet template and I replace that part. I create two double quotes and I place that URL right in here. And this is literally all I'm going to do. Now I basically press command and save it, and that file is saved. So now we already have our very first action ready that can basically schedule a viewing and send or can schedule a viewing from the assistant's perspective and can send it to a webhook request so that we can take care of it in whatever other environment we want. So I'm going to show you that, as I haven't really run the chatbot, or I have actually deleted it. So you probably haven't run it until that point. So we simply click on run. It should create an assistant.json file right over here. And when that happened, now we can basically already go into our voice flow template and test the chatbot. So I click onto here, I click run test. And if it shows the messages that you see right here, you know you have set it up properly. And now we are simply going to ask that we want to schedule a viewing. So I say, I want to schedule a viewing for property 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just basically came up with a property ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is something that we can later on again fetch from that query that we're going to create. And now it says, certainly, happy to help you. Okay, cool. It asks us for full name, email address, and the preferred date and time. So we say it's Janis Moore, janis@more.dev. And we say, I'd like to visit it on the 9th of February 2024 at, let's say, 1 p.m. Something like this. So now basically expect the API or the assistant AI the assistant API to understand the request and send off an action that should receive here. And as you can see, it does it properly. It says full name, and it's more, it says email that we defined, it says the property ID, and it says the date and the time. So this works perfectly, and all of that works just through the prompting that we did inside of our Replit template, where we created this file. So this all is basically just responsible for sending that information to that webhook URL. And we haven't written any of that, which is amazing. So it works out of the box. And this is the simple version of setting that up. Now, all you need to do, in case you want to integrate that with another kind of tool like make.com, all you need to do is you literally just replace that webhook URL that you get from whatever provider you work with. It might be that the structure needs to be adjusted if you have your very own webhook or URL or endpoint on your own servers. But if you have an own server, you probably know that anyways already. So nothing new to that. Okay, that's it for the easy part. Now let's create a custom property search endpoint that we can use to literally search a custom database of whatever kind of properties you have available. To do that, we need a couple of things. You first, of course, need to have a custom database where you can basically fetch properties from. I don't have that. So what I basically did is I went ahead and went to a Rapid API, which is basically a provider for certain kind of APIs, especially in any kind of industry. So it's very versatile, and it also offers real estate APIs, from which I just grabbed one, which looks like this. Once you created an account for Rapid API, you will be able to sign up, and you will be able to create or can sign up for Rapid API, and you can also subscribe to that real estate database or that listing in case you want to use a predefined one from Rapid API where you work with, which means Zillow or Realtor or whatever it is. I used this US real estate listings here from API Maker. I just found that it's free, so I can just use it for now for testing purposes. And as you can see, it has various endpoints available. So what we are going to use is we are probably either using maybe get a property list for sale or for rent. Let's say people want to buy in our real estate agency, so we are probably going to get a property list for sale, which is that one already. So inside of the code snippet, you will see all of the magic, which is what we definitely need to create the prompt. So you simply click on the kind of code, you go to Python and to requests, and it should look something like this. Well, that is all we need for now. To have that API on the database available. So in your case, you probably have your own if you wish. And now it comes back to actually creating the scope for our action. So we head back into our resource hub. We copy again the ChatGPT tool ideation generator prompt. We head back over to ChatGPT. I'll create a new chat. I'll paste it into here. And now we are defining a couple of constraints that we would like to have inside of our scope for that specific action. And we are going to be very specific with that, as we would like to integrate it with some kind of API. So I say something like, this action should be able to search through a set of properties and return the, let's say we want to have the property title. Let's see what else we have available there. So you can go basically over here, you can go to example response, and you can look into the actual responses. So we basically get back all of that kind of information. So it actually looks interesting. So I might even just get back anything, just in case. So if you basically want to be very specific, you can also get back anything, and the user can re-ask question based on whatever we return. So let's just do that in our example. So in case of specifying specific values, I'm just gonna say, through a set of properties. Then I will also say, let's say based on the location maybe, or let's say through more, because I just saw that inside of the real estate property you can filter by many things, by property type, sort, beds min, beds max. So there are tons of values available, and we can basically actually even use that list to generate a scope for us that we can include into our scope. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So all we're gonna do for that is we say, based on various parameters, meters as defined below. So now we can basically already define the parameters down here. So we say something like parameters. What I do here with the stars is basically markdown. So that would be a bold text. So it's easier for ChatGPT to interpret as bold text, and that is something elevated. So what I'm going to do now is actually I copy that part and I'm creating a new chat where we are going to come back to in a second. All right, what we're going to do now is we basically just cut out that prompt that we created and we save it somewhere. And what we are going to do now is we basically create a scope based on whatever the real estate listings have in here. So I'm just gonna do that. As you can see, they have required parameters and optional parameters. So all I'm gonna do is I'm very plain with that. So I just scroll down, I copy that whole thing. It will look horrible right now. It will look like something like this. So it's not really well readable. But what I'm going to do is I'll just tell it now to please create a properly formatted list of arguments based on the information below. So what I want now is that ChatGPT basically just formats that information and validates it in a way that it looks better. As you can see right here, required parameters, location string, optional parameters. So it's literally just gonna write that. And while it's doing that, we can already create our other prompt right here, which we just copied from before. So I just paste that one back into here. And now we just wait until this is ready so we can paste that parameters list down here where we basically just created that previous prompt that we copied from our resource hub. I'm just gonna wait until it's ready. So it's ready now. So all I'm gonna do is I literally just scroll up and I copy that whole list of parameters and I paste it right into here, into our parameter definition that I just set up. So I scroll back up and we can see now that it's mentioned under the parameters as defined below. Perfect. Okay, so now we also want to make sure that we mention that we want to use, for example, the Rapid API. So we say the action uses the Rapid API based on the scope below. So we are defining the Rapid API scope. So we say Rapid API scope. You can again write it inside of 2 asterisks just to make it a bit more clear for the AI and to get just better results or better quality. And now you can also go to the code snippets and you can literally just copy, I would say, this part in here. It should be enough. You can basically copy the whole thing as well. I'm just a bit more precise with it. So I say this is the Rapid API scope on the scope below. And now we say, please ensure, maybe not please ensure. Let's see if we have anything else. Okay, we also get the result. There is also a response included below that shows an example of the results from the properties. Okay, so now I would like also to have one of those example properties mentioned there. So all I'm going to do is I basically just go to the schema. I'll just open it up. Let's just expand them all. So it looks something like this. Oops, and I'm gonna copy that whole schema and I just go back to ChatGPT and I paste the schema as well under. So now I just notice it's called schema, so we can optimize that prompt as well. There's also a response schema included below. So we can say something like that. Okay, there's the response, there's the parameters. So then we can say something like Rapid API schema. Boom, and I include it right here. And all I'm going to do is I hit enter and see what happens to see how good the quality actually is of whatever the scope, however the scope it creates. So it says functionality, the tool searches for real estate listings based on various parameters. This tool interfaces with the Rapid API to search for real estate listings, okay. It will allow users to specify various parameters such as location, property type, price range, etc. The tool queries the blah blah blah. Okay, this is the API. This does it well. It also mentions here the API call that should be made, the Rapid API key, etc. And it also mentions all of the parameters that are optional. So there are tons, and I'm not even sure if I need all of them. So I probably are just going to remove some of them when I create the master prompt, which is what we're going to do now. So you simply head back up over to the resource hub and you search for the ChatGPT tool generator prompt. You copy again that whole block. You head into ChatGPT, paste it right here, and now we are going to start replacing all of those placeholders again with the information that we just got back from that scoping functionality, feature description, and the constraints. And for the constraints, like I mentioned, there are a lot of optional things. So of course, everyone can basically optimize them depending on what they need. I don't need a lot of them, so I would just say until here maybe. So that we have something like price max as last. This would probably be really good. And that's, I guess, it. So now we basically have the scope in here. So I press enter and see what happens. And this is very, very versatile because we are literally just asking it to create a whole integration for a specific API from a different API provider with different information that we have literally no clue about. So if you're not a developer, this might become a little bit tricky if it doesn't work. If it works perfectly, because ChatGPT is already that smart that often the code just works out of the box. If not, you might have to read inside of the console if something is wrong. But that's what I'm going to do with you here live, and I literally haven't tested that, so this is the first time I'm doing that. So it's gonna be very interesting. Let's just wait until this is done. All right, it just finished everything, so now we can scroll up and we can simply copy that search real estate listings.py. We go back into our bot and we create a new tool right here called search real estate listings.py. Press enter, it creates the new file for us, and all we need to do now is we copy that whole block and we paste it into that file. And I saw down here as well, they have again example usage. We don't need that because we want to have it in a live system whatsoever. So that should be basically it. Let's just go over what else we need to add as information. It makes a get request, okay. Script needs to be constrained, you specified. The next thing that's missing is the Rapid API key. So like I mentioned before, we can add that as a secret here. If you don't see the secret tab, again, you go over the tab here. So we click here, create secret, add the Rapid API key that you can get from within Rapid API. So I just copied it and I'm gonna paste it here, add it as a secret. And that should be it so far. So we can basically look over that if it looks the way we want it to look. So there it asks for location string, which is basically what it requests here. Put that in as an example for if we want to into the description. I'm just gonna keep it for now, just to see what actually was written inside of Replit, because the location basically returns down here somewhere. So let's just see if I can find it. Key arguments, okay. So it just says location or search city code or address. Okay, so it basically accepts a couple of different things. So I would just leave it for now. I'm not exactly sure if it needs a specific kind of way of writing it, but we can literally just try that out. So all I would do now is I would basically stop our previous bot as it was still running, and I kind of recreate the assistant by deleting the assistant JSON and restarting the whole chatbot. And if everything works and the code at least is properly configured right in here from whatever ChatGPT gave us, which seems it is, we can now go into the chatbot and actually try it out and see what happens. So I'm just going to remove that part and I'm gonna go back to run the test. And let's see what we can get from properties. So where would you like to find properties? Let's just say, do you have any properties available in Portland? Let's say in Portland. So what I expect now is that it basically makes a search on the real estate API. If it works, and it doesn't, so it throws an error that we can probably see as well here, which says got an unexpected argument method whitelist, which apparently it doesn't have. Oh, that probably is because that API doesn't have this argument properly whitelist. Oh, I think that it's because the API doesn't have the argument method whitelist, I assume. Or let's just search for that one, because I honestly don't know what that argument is. So what I'm going to do is if you find something like that, we can just go back into the chat and say, please write the code without the retry. So what I expected to do as a non-dev, I would just have the thing rewritten and try it again, because I have no idea what that retry is. So we just head back into ChatGPT and wait until it creates that function again without that retry and see then if it works. Because from my understanding, the retry strategy, honestly, I don't know exactly what it implemented here. It probably just wrote it here, so we can go over that. Makes it to the requirement. Okay, the parameters. Performance with minimal API calls and efficient processing. Okay, so all we're gonna do is we basically just wait now until that new module has been generated, and then I'm gonna be back in a sec. Okay, it's just about to finish that whole part, and it removed it properly. So now we basically take that whole thing again and we replace whatever we had inside of the search real estate listings file. And I also had in here, I just see it formats it not properly. So all I'm going to do is I remove this example usage down here again and I save the file. And all I'm going to do now is I basically just stop it and I run it again to see if the code throws any error. And apparently it doesn't. So all we can do is we basically just try the exact same thing again. So we go back, we start the chat again, run test, and we say, do you have any apartments available in Portland? And let's hope it works this time, because it always depends on what ChatGPT generates, right? And it might be that there are some permissions or some imports missing. So this time it seems it works, at least so far. But let's see what we get back as a response. And surprisingly enough, it actually returned something. And it says, we have a variety of properties available in Portland. Here are a couple of highlighted options. 3-bedroom, single family home. As you can see, it has all of the information inside with the description, the bed bath, the size, and a picture as well. And as well a link to the actual listing. So we can actually just open it up in a new tab and check it out, which we see here. So surprisingly enough, it works right out of the box, or most likely right out of the box, with all of the properties right here. And then it also asks if you would like to schedule a viewing. So if we are going to do the same thing now, we still have that webhook chat open, so we can simply try it. So I say something like, let's say I like the 4-bedroom multi-family home. A viewing would be great. Amazing. So what I expect the bot now is to request that information again from me for the viewing, as in this chat I haven't provided it to it. So it should basically ask again for the first name, email, and all the other information when we want to have the viewing, etc. And it does it right here perfectly. So what we are going to do now is we just say our full name. There's more. We're gonna say the email address. Let's say more.dev and the preferred time. What about the 24th of February 2024 at 2 p.m. And now, if everything should work, we should see a new webhook request or response coming right into here with that information about the property, including the property ID. And one arrives here, and you can see Janis Moore. It says the email as well, and the property ID and the date. The date is also correct. This date always, of course, depends on your time zone, so you should definitely be careful when converting time zones in between different tools, but that is something you should already be aware, depending on wherever you live and wherever you have your properties. So now if we look the property ID and we actually check whatever we got back inside of this real estate chatbot right here. So let's go to the view listing, or the property ID even says it here. So it basically did it correctly. It basically showed the properties. Unfortunately, I left the chat now. But as you can see, the tool works. It basically returned that information properly. So for your to make it simple for you, I'm going to release everything you see here within this Replit template, as well as a template inside of our resource hub. So you can go over there and copy that as well in case you start the video. It will probably be anyways presented to you in the description of the video if you have seen it before, or so that you can check it out. And I hope this whole tutorial gives you basically a better understanding of how you can create your very own custom actions in a even more advanced way, so that you can still kind of customize it to your business needs and do whatever you want with it. And I know that's gonna be a very long tutorial, but if you're still sticking around, I really appreciate it. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna do a lot more like that. And if you have anything else you would like to see inside of my videos or on my channel, definitely drop it down below in the comments. I'm very happy to help you out. And until next time, have fun, enjoy automating. See you.